So thank you, Lasca Hirlock, and I'm very pleased to be able to talk today on the Harassment, Harmful Communications and Related Offences Bill, and that it will be known as Coco's Law. And I really just, as many people have here, want to commend Jackie Fox for her relentless campaign, not only on getting this law passed, but also to tackle the scourge of online bullying. And I also want to think of and commend the other parents who have lost their children due to suicide because of online bullying. I can only imagine their pain and their anguish when they tried to get legal recourse, when they went to the guards to try and get something done to stop the relentless bullying that their children were experiencing, and they could not. And I'm really thinking of the parents who are right now possibly watching their children suffer, and have no doubt about it that this online bullying is continuing to happen right now, and it's having devastating results. Like Senator Craughwell, I and many other people here stood outside the gates of Leinster House, and we listened to Jackie and other parents talk about their children who had been driven to suicide from bullying. And I just want to again think about those children who are not here with us anymore, and hope that when this law goes through that there is a better outcome. It has been referenced in here as well, consent and the need to get explicit consent. And I do agree that we have to tackle this area before we even ever have to get to the legal stage. You know, I've talked a lot about my time in the student movement and how by the time people get to third level, it is too late to be talking about consent. Not everyone goes on to third level, so we've also got an even bigger divide there around talking about consent. We need education around having positive, healthy, consensual relationships with other people, how to give consent, how to receive consent. And you know, we talk about how we can be very awkward, the old we don't like to say it, it's too awkward, but sometimes we need to give people the explicit language to say, I consent to this, yes, you can do that, yes, I want to do this, yes, that is something that I enjoy and I'd like to do that again. And we need to teach people how to say that, and that is a long time coming, and it is an awkward conversation perhaps for parents to have, but we need to have that. I want people to be able to have healthy sexual relationships with their partners, and we need to just get to grips with that, and it is too late at third level to be talking about that, although of course we'll keep doing so. And I also want to say it is not the fault of the person whose photos that others have shared. If they consent to an intimate image to be shared between two consenting adults, the only person who is at fault for sharing that image is the person who has done so without their consent. And I believe those people when they say that they did not consent to that to be shared widely, and I want them to know that there are people in this House who believe them. I've spoken about this very briefly before, but I'm someone who has suffered sexual violence. I don't talk about it too often. It does not define me. But when I see online anonymous accounts calling for that to happen to me again, that is not pleasant, and that is something that has happened. And I want to thank Senator Gallagher referenced that interview yesterday where I talked about my experience of people calling for that to happen to me, because I've spoken out against sexual violence, because I've spoken out against image-based sexual assault, and I don't think it is ever acceptable, first of all, that it happened to me in the first place, but I think it is even more unacceptable for those people to have called for that to happen to me again, because I've spoken up, and I'm very lucky that I have an opportunity to speak out where many other people cannot. Senator Doherty said there's probably not one person in here who hasn't experienced online abuse and perhaps even concentrated harassment, and sometimes we're told it's part of the job and we just have to toughen up. And I welcome the collective position that's been taken now, that actually we're pushing back and saying, no, actually we don't have to toughen up, you have to stop doing this. And saying that it is not right. And it really frightens and terrifies me to think about the young people having to process some of the most ghastly things online. You know, I can brush it off and I can deal with it, but for young people that is very difficult. It's been referenced here already, but I want to reiterate the need for there a societal response to this, and I agree with Senator Éireann that I would prefer to see behavioural change rather than legal sanctions. They should be a last resort. But I think it's very important that we say that why do people behave the way that they do? And I don't only reference online abuse. You know, why do people perpetuate hate? And Senator Flynn last night talked extremely eloquently about her own experiences as a traveller woman, and I suggest you watch that interview. But why do people perpetuate sexual violence like what has been done to me? Why do people harass and torment like what has been done to Senator Éireann? We need to challenge and change these behaviours. This bill gives an option for legal recourse and penal sanctions, and perhaps and hopefully small comfort to those who have been affected. But as I said, there is a wider societal issue that we need to tackle. And finally, I want to say that I'm very grateful to Brendan Howlin and my Labour colleagues for this legislation. A journalist wrote that they congratulated me for writing the legislation in 2017 when I was merely in USI, but it was great to be associated with such a thing. So I'm very grateful to be associated with this legislation and hopefully seeing it being brought forward and to bring comfort to those for whom have been really deeply affected by the issues we've talked about today. Thank you, Lasca Hilla.